Theatre Company.
The Goats Theatre Company.
My name is Caroline Sampé. I am the artistic director of the Goats Theatre Company. I have on the line today poet Elliot Msindo. Elliot was born and raised in Zimbabwe, where his passion for poetry led him to study English literature to degree level. Elliot's writing focuses on mental health, peer pressure, and stress, which he explores through the medium of spoken word poetry, stand-up comedy, and playwriting. Elliot's poem Colored Mental Health is featured in the poetry episode of Play the Goat, Podcast Edition, Series 1, which is narrated by actor Jordan Wallace. Hi, Elliot. So nice to chat with you today.
Hello, thank you. How are you?
Good. So tell us about your poem Colored Mental Health.
The poem, I wrote it after I was just reflecting on many things that go on, mainly focusing on racism. Basically, my point of departure was I was looking at the effects of racism on someone who already has mental health problems. So I just wanted to get it out there to show that there are some people who are actually suffering twice. They suffer from racism, then suffer from mental health problems as well. So that's why I just termed it colored mental health.
I know that some time ago I came across the idea that because a lot of the medical staff did not understand the cultural background of some of the people who came to them, there was a lot of wrong diagnosis, especially dealing with people from Black background. Do you think this is still a problem at the moment?
Yes, I think it still happens, especially looking at the influence of culture and beliefs on people. The way we believe at times, or the way we behave at times, it's mainly influenced by our culture and our backgrounds, where we grew up. So this has got a huge influence on our mental health. So the change in cultural climate affects mental health as well. So moving to the UK may have an impact on someone's mental health, not because of their culture or their background, but because of the new environment and adjusting to the new life they'll be living.
Yes, it can be very lonely to be away from your family and coming into a culture which is very individualistic and not very hospitable in some places. So it must be, it is a real shock, and that I have seen a lot of people being affected mentally with the culture shock, and as well as, being away from your family and your support network.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, especially being away from family, because most of the people here, they may just have their own close family, like husband and children. So that loneliness and a lack of unity is different from back home, where there's a closely knit community and the family is always there to support.
They look at me in disgust, as if my mind is all dust. Bananas thrown in my face like a monkey. Well, I'm black with no money.
So I wanted to ask you what led you to become a poet.
I think I would say the influence came from when I was still in high school. So I had my teachers who encouraged me to get into poetry, because I was so good in my local language. So I started off writing in our native language. Then I moved on. Then I did English literature, which helped me to write poetry in English as well. So the influence came from school, and I would do presentations at assembly and go for sports, just to do like a journalist recording and bringing feedback at assembly point. So that's how I started writing poetry.
Well, can I ask what your original language is?
My original language is Shona.
It would be lovely to actually hear you recite one of your poems in that language. I would really enjoy that.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of poetry in my local language as well. Yeah.
And do you translate it and explain what it is and afterwards to a British audience?
I do, but normally now I mainly do it in English because back home in Zimbabwe, most people are they are able to understand English, so that makes it easy to convey an important message, especially about mental health
Mm.
in a language that can be understood by so many people.
So you use the medium of the spoken word. Tell us about that.
Um, to be honest, I think people have moved away from the culture of reading.
Mm.
So publishing poetry is difficult because most the audience for poetry has really gone down. So I think from my research and from looking at what other poets do, I realized that I would need to do spoken word so that I can attract the attention of people, because now people are always on YouTube, they're always on Facebook. So I was trying to diversify and reach them where they are. So if I do it as spoken word, people would be able to listen instead of reading.
Mm.
So that's why I ended up doing spoken word, so that I can attract the attention of the people.
And so can people find you on YouTube? Is there a channel? What do they look for?
Yes, there's a channel on YouTube, Elliot Msindo, the poet. And I also have a Facebook page, Elliot Msindo the Poet, and I'm available on Twitter, on Instagram. Yeah, so they can reach me there.
And Msindo is spelled Msindo.
Yes, that's correct. And Elliot, it's Elliot,
One
single.
T.
Yeah, one T. Yeah.
Robbed of the ability to express my deep feelings so that I can impress the scary white world.
So you do stand-up comedy as well. Tell us about that.
Yes, I've tried stand-up comedy, and I normally do it with my kids, my children. I'm someone who is quite adventurous. I try a lot of things. I also do playwriting. So for stand-up comedy, I just started writing material on stand-up comedy. That's how I then started performing the material in open mics and stuff, especially in London. I also go to a town called Woking to do such kind of things. So that's how I was just trying to see if I can diversify, so that when I do my spoken word poetry, I can spice it up with stand-up comedy as well.
That's lovely. And what about your playwriting? Tell us about that.
I started playwriting way back when I was still in high school. I used to run a drama club for the school. So we had a teacher who was an overseer, but I was the director of the plays. So I would come up with plays to act in the club, and to direct the plays as well. So that's when I started. So currently I'm working on a play on mental health,
Hmm.
and I think it will be ready by the end of this year. So it's a play mainly focusing on how people are struggling with bullying and family dynamics as well, how they affect mental health and children at school as well. So I focused on the school setting, family setting, and marriage setting as well.
Hmm. So we look forward to seeing that. It's a full-length play.
No, it's a short play. I think it will be about 20 to 25 minutes.
Like a tortoise, I hide in my shell. History of my colour. Never can I tell.
So you've told us that you're writing. Have you got any plans for the future apart from this play? Especially now with COVID, how do you actually cope with that and your work?
Um, for the future, I'm currently working on my third collection of poetry on mental health. It's going to be ready in a month or so, or even less than a month, because I'm just doing some final touches. Um, I think it's been a difficult period, especially with the lockdown.
Hmm.
So that is what delayed me a bit. But I'm working on it, and it's going to be poems supporting people going through difficult times, and also getting the word out there of what mental health problems really are and what it feels like. So because of that, I think I would link it to COVID, because most people struggled during the lockdown. People's mental health really deteriorated because of lack of activity and being indoors for very long periods.
Mm. And so you have a book already out, which is I saw was available on Amazon.
Yes, so I've got a collection of poems entitled "I Fight Me." It's available on Amazon. I published it in 2018. It's a collection of poems, mainly focusing on how mental health affects people. It also looks at the society itself, the stigma attached to mental health. The title "I Fight Me," I came up with it because most of the poems focus on the battle which happens in the mind. If someone is going through a difficult times, you'll be fighting yourself, struggle with yourself on what to do. Do I seek support or not? Do I open the door for the people to come in or not? So such kind of things. It's just a battle with yourself. Then I also published another collection of poems early this year. It's called God's Little Book of Emotional Well-Being. So it's a Christian collection of poems on mental health. I published that one through Stanbra Press, so it's available on Stanbra Press. It's mainly a focus on the church and the Christian community to say they are not immune to mental health, because there are some churches or denominations who do not really address the subject of mental health. So I just wanted to draw their attention, the leadership attention, to the idea that even in churches, there are some people who are lonely, yet they're among a congregation. So it's not about having people around, but at times it's about reaching out at an individual level. So that's why I came up with that collection, and I would say it's doing very well. It's doing very well.
Confidence seeps away like water. Am I being taken for slaughter?
Tell us a bit more about your background. Why mental health? We haven't addressed that.
So I lost my mom when I was 17, when I was doing my GCSEs, and it was, I think, 3 months before my final exams. So it really hit me hard. I struggled because of failure to cope, and I didn't have enough support. Um, I've got brothers, of course, and when you're in such kind of a situation, it's difficult to cope, because I was trying to process what's going to happen, what will happen to me, because my mom was really supportive, especially of my academic pursuits. She was really someone who was there for me, and losing her towards my exams was hit me very hard. So after that, I got support from friends. I had a few friends who really stood with me, and they supported me through the difficult times. So when I started writing poetry, I actually just thought to myself that the support or the experience I went through, there are some who are still going through the same experience daily. There are people who are losing parents, who are losing breadwinners. So I just thought to myself that I need to use my talent to support someone, so that they can really know that there is life after losing someone. And with the appropriate support, you can still achieve your dreams. So that's how I came to write about mental health. But the challenge is, where I come from in Zimbabwe, I would say there is very little awareness or campaigns on mental health. So I was limited because there is no exposure towards some of those things. So I mainly wrote poems to do with motivation, peer pressure, self-esteem, before I moved to the UK. So when I moved to the UK, I realized that there's a lot of attention on mental health. There are resources there and people really know what mental health is. So that's when I decided to channel my talent towards mental health. That's how I started writing about mental health.
And are you able to actually export that back to Zimbabwe, or how are you dealing with that back home?
Yeah, for now, I would say I'm still working on trying to establish some links and connections with people back home. As a subject which is very new, it's difficult to start from scratch. So I'm trying to work on trying to find organizations, the few organizations that are working in that field, so that I can maybe support them through writing a collection of poems for them. Then they can just sell the books and raise funds to support the cause.
Elliot, thank you so much for chatting with us. We really enjoyed reading your poem, and we are really looking forward to reading your play, which is coming out later this year.
Thank you. I promise you will like it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You can hear Elliot Msindo's poem Coloured Mental Health, narrated by Jordan Wallace, on the poetry episode of podcast Play the Goat Podcast Edition Series 1, available on your favourite streaming platform. Elliot Msindo's book I Fight Me, a collection of poems on mental illness, is available on Amazon. You can find Elliot on YouTube and Facebook by looking for Elliot Msindo, the poet. Please do leave us a comment on our Facebook page at The Goats Theatre Company. The Goats Theatre Company.
The Goats Theatre Company.